Hi, this is Linda. I am back again, this time making a log cabin. A very dear friend of mine has moved and I wanted to give her a gift, and that is what I've been working on every night using this variegated red heart yarn. And I've made them in various sizes, various colors. This is a blue that I made lapgans. I've made quite a few lapgans and donated them to assisted living places where they, when they have their movie nights or whatever, they like to just put them over their knee. This is a gorgeous turquoise one that I made. Well, this is the wool, obviously. This one won first place in a arts competition that I entered just last weekend, actually. And this is another one that I made, purple. I haven't done anything with this one yet, but this is what the style of it is called, the log cabin. And the reason that I like the variegated wool is that you're not having to change colors, Like this square, for example, is very different from this square. Now, had I just done a continuous square, it would have looked more in line with the colors as they, as they change from one color to another. It would have looked more like that. But since this time I did squares, and I've made 24 of them, I've decided that that was pretty much the size. I'm just measuring it here now. It's about 7 or 7.5 inches in diameter. But you can make them in whatever size you like. I mean, it's your project, so. And now I'm going to show you how to begin and how to end a square, and then we're going to assemble the project. Here I'm starting the square. So I've cast on 15 stitches, and I did a knit, turn to the other side, a knit. And I've done this so that I have 12 bumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And the 12th one is actually on the needle. Why 12, you say? Well, this was why I did it. Because this is as close to a square as I can get. It's not a perfect square, but it's close, and that's the way I want my square to look like for the Afghan that I'm making. But you could continue on, and you could make it, you could begin with 10 stitches, you could begin with 20 stitches. It's entirely up to you, it's your project. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast off these stitches and show you how to turn. I always slip stitch the first stitch on every row. And the reason I do that is just from years of practice, is it gives the end of the row a very nice look. So I've slip stitched, then knit, and now I'm going to cast off these stitches. Very simple. For anyone who's knit anything, this is a very simple pattern. Actually, I do this at night while I'm watching TV. It just keeps my hands busy. It doesn't detract from me paying attention to the program that I'm watching, because I've just been knitting for so many years, and there's no different stitches to follow, no changing of colors. So it just, I can do it with my eyes closed almost. And here we are getting to the end of the row. And now I have the last stitch. I am turning. And you see there's just a slight difference in the colors here. It happens with no, there's no planning on your part. It just happens. And always keep, so this would be the side facing you. Always keep your beginning piece of yarn on the bottom and to the left, and you can't go wrong. So now I've got the last stitch of this row on my needle, and I want to move and create stitches along here. I'm going to skip this row here. There's the first bump, and I'm going to pick up one of the threads and create a new stitch. Skip the bump, go in between, pick up a new stitch, and do this all the way down the row. Now we're at the end, and I like to go right in here. And there we have a brand new row. So now I am going to slip the first stitch and knit all those new stitches that I've just created. And you can see now that I'm knitting on the other side of the original square, or one of the sides of the original square. And you keep doing that for as many rows as you wish. I chose to do 5 rows on the first one. I've made other squares where I've done 4 rows or 6 rows, whatever. It's entirely up to you. It's your design. You can make it however you like. Here I've come to the end of the square that I'm currently making. What I chose to do was have, each time you knit, you get this bump. It's actually 2 rows because you're getting the same bump on the other side. It's a straight knit, both sides. And the way I chose to do mine was that I have 12 bumps, 24 rows here, and then on the next sides, on all 4 sides, I chose to make 5 bumps or 10 rows all the way around, and then when we come to the final row, I chose to do 4 and then cast off. But this pattern is so easy and so flexible. You could make the square a lot larger, or you could just make smaller squares and attach them together. So on the last row, I've cast off up to this point, and what I'm going to do now, this is getting in the way a little bit. I'll talk to you about the needle in a minute. So we're going to knit and pull the stitch over, knit, pull the stitch that is on the needle over, again, knit, pull the stitch on the needle over, and when it comes to the last stitch, we want to pull the stitch over, and now leave yourself a bit of room because we have to tie in, weave in these ends. Remove the needle, pull the thread through, the yarn and just pull it down like this so that it finishes off your square. And that is the last square. Let's talk about the needle. I like to use the round needles. It's just less awkward for me. I use it on pretty much anything. This one is about 12 inches because I don't need a longer one. But when I'm working on the Afghan ones, I start out with a 12, move to a 24, and then a 36. It's just a matter of preference. You can use straight needles. Always look when you're selecting your yarn, look on the side where it tells you if you're going to knit, you use this size needle. And if you're going to crochet, you use this size needle. Never fails. Now let's move on to the next step. And now we have all our squares knit. And what I have done, and again, it's your project, you do whatever you like, but I have separated them into 3 bundles. This one, I have dark edges as my last row. This one is sort of brownish. You can see sort of a rusty color. And on this pile, light. And now I'm going to set them out on the floor and see how I can assemble them in a pattern that I like. And there'll be a lot of moving around. And once that's done, then we'll sew them together using the yarn. This will be, each square is approximately 7 or 7.5 inches. So 7/4 are 28, so 28 inches across, and 7/6 are 42. Maybe I'll make it 5 by 5. 7/5 are 35, 35. No, I think I'll keep it with 6 because the woman that I'm making the squares for, the Afghan for, is taller, and I think she would like it longer. After the squares have been sewn together, I'm going to crochet maybe 2 or 3 rows around the outer perimeter of the Afghan just to give it a finished look. And that, now next up, let's see what it looks like. All right, back again, and now I'm starting to assemble. What I've tried to do so that the direction is always the same is to keep the piece of yarn that's the last cast off, always going in the same direction. So these are the darkest ones. And what I'm going to do next, I step in front of the camera. This bunch is the one that has the sort of rusty color ones. So now I'm going to see how I like there. And this this. Now I have two of these rust-colored ones that I have to lay out somewhere. And let's try them here. One here, one here, and now the lighter color ones. Whoops. And let's put those in the spaces. See how we like that. So we have to try to envision now how that's going to look when, you know what, I don't really think I like that. I think I want to have more variety in the color. At first I was thinking maybe I would like to have all the dark on the edges, which kind of made sense, right? Darker and then moving into lighter. But I don't know if I like it or not. Too much of the same color in the same place. So, you know, I am going to just continue moving them around until I get it to a place where I like it, and I'll come back. I think I like it like this. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to take each row and put it together in the same order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All the way across. And then I will move to, so that's the top, that's the next bunch, and the next, and the next. You see, I'm just sort of crisscrossing them so that, no, you can't see that, or maybe you can, I don't know, like this. And now, there we are. That is the order in which I'm going to put them together 4 at a time. And then once I get all 4 together, we'll assemble the entire thing. And I'm going to use a mattress stitch. I will show you how to do that. Now comes the very monotonous step of attaching all the squares together. This is why you might want to consider doing it all in one, like a lapgan, depending on how large your needles are. So let's get going. And I'm going to tilt down and I'm going to try to, no, why is it not letting me zoom in? Because I don't know if you're going to be able to see this very well. I'm going to explain it to you the best I can. Let's move down. So I've taken a needle that is meant for darning or wool, or thicker, something thicker than a thread. Taken a piece of my yarn. I took about maybe 3 times or so the length of this section, because that's what I'm attaching right now. And the mattress stitch, I'm hoping that you can see this. So I'm going in here where I already have a stitch and up on this side of the next stitch, pull through. Then I'm moving over here to the other side. And this is the darker wool is very difficult to see. Down in through the last stitch, up through this one. And I'm going to leave it loose for a minute just to show you what this does. Down here, whoops, down and up. And then on the other side, down and up into those 2 stitches. Now, when I pull, see how nice that is? You don't really see the stitches. And sometimes you have to finesse a little bit because obviously it's not a perfect science. So one square may be a tiny bit longer than the other, then you would have to just work that in as you're weaving the 2 pieces together. And I will be back much later. Here is the finished Afghan. All the squares have been sewn together and I crocheted 3 rows. 1, 2, 3 rows around the edges. And I will actually give it a little press on the outside here to make the edges lie a little bit flat. Essentially, I took the 4 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I sewed them together using that mattress stitch. Then after each of the 6 sets of 4 squares was completed, using a mattress stitch again, I sewed them this way. Sometimes you have to sort of fiddle around with the sizes because, you know, it's not perfect science here. It's just you make it as it is. And obviously the reverse side is not as pretty because of the you know, the attaching of the different squares. But this side looks really nice. I hope that my friend will like it. And I will take a photograph of it when I've actually evened out the edges. And that concludes a demonstration of the log cabin Afghan, made with multiple squares, the process of attaching them together using a mattress stitch, and with a little crochet around the edges just to finish it off. So if you've liked this video, please subscribe. Thank you for staying around for this long. I will be moving on to another project, and I'm hoping next to do a Japanese knot bag. So please stay tuned for that.